Hello, Justin.
Oh, hey there.
Hey
How you doing,
there.
Bobby?
How you doing, my friend?
I'm good.
Our
Just
our stream might
li-
be at a
lit-
very low quality right now for some reason, and I don't know why.
it looks okay on
It does. Well,
it
you're
looks
looking
okay to
crisp
me.
again. Your camera came back crisp in our
Yes, it
little
did.
little break. I got a warning from YouTube that was like, your thing is really low. Your
I'm
bit rate
watching the
is really
stream. It
low.
looks okay.
It is Friday, I guess, Megs. I was like, it's not Friday. We do this on Thursday. It is, in fact, Thursday, December 16th. I believe. 2021. And you're listening to That's How You Introduce the Talking Games podcast. Miss Adventureland. I'm Bobby, and I'm with Justin.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing, Justin? You came in hot today.
I came in extremely hot. Angela and I are in the process of buying new furniture for the house.
Okay.
We on Black Friday bought Jorah an entire new bedroom set, new
Okay.
dresser, new desk, bunk beds, new mattress, the whole nine.
Okay.
And in the process of doing that, it was like, well, we need to replace a couple other things. We need to buy a chair. And I was like, we really should replace the TV stand in the kids' playroom because we've had it since before Jorah was even a glimmer in our eye.
Mm-hmm.
And the drawers are constantly falling apart. And she's like, yeah, but let's just try and wait a little bit more. And then it broke. So we ordered one, we got it in, we put it together, and I ran up here and we hit record 30 seconds after I sat down and went live 10 seconds after that.
We did. It's very
coming in
true.
hot. We're coming in real hot today. And thank you so much, Megs.
Yes. Meg says you're always coming hot. It looks like we're back on track. YouTube is now telling me to lower the bit rate because I'm bringing too much fire with the bit rate, Justin.
Jesus.
It can handle it. It's fine. It can handle it. Yeah, so here we are, podcast. We didn't podcast last week, though. It felt like we did because we were sitting in these chairs for 3.5 hours last Thursday talking about Dem Game Awards. And we didn't get enough of that, so we were going to, in podcast form, quickly go over and recap what we thought of the show today. And then we're also going to talk about what games we're catching up on for Game of the Year. We've been talking about it off show a bunch. And we're going to discuss a little bit here because we're getting close to when we're going to be doing it. Usually we do it, sometime the end of January to give ourselves some time. So I feel much more prepared this year than I've ever felt before going into this end of the year.
No, you're ahead of where I am.
Like I've played enough games
Maybe.
where I think we're pretty close. I've played enough games where if we did it like next week, I'd be like, oh, I missed some stuff. But I wouldn't feel like, I don't have any legs to stand on.
Yeah, no.
Whereas last year we did it in like February, and I still felt like I could make a top 5. Like this year, I've got a
Do you
solid.
happen to have our old lists?
You mean like a printout probably
I would
in a Google
Hi,
Doc
Lanny.
somewhere.
What are you doing awake? I would love to go back and look at some of our lists.
Lanny just is one of our newest subscribers to the YouTube channel. Just subscribed the other day. So
Well
thanks,
done,
Lanny. Let me look. I'm gonna go to Google Docs, and see.
I know we won. Hades won for us last year.
Yeah, 100% Hades won last year.
Why is the name escaping me? The game that you, me, and Andy love.
I don't know which one of those things. Okay, so you want
The
to hear
shooter, the Dark Souls shooter.
Oh, that was 2 years ago, dude.
That was 2 years ago. It was
Remnant.
Hades. It was
No.
Remnant. Remnant was 2
Remnant
years
was
ago.
not last year though.
No, Hades.
Oh,
was
that
last
one.
year.
Oh,
Remnant
that
was the year
one is
before.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So here we go. I've got our GOTY list from last year in front of me.
Give me that top 10 from last year.
Okay, I'm just thinking if I've got our GOTY list from the year before. But we didn't really have a GOTY list here. I don't think we did a top 10 that year. I think we did
a top 5.
We did a top 5 maybe that year because that was like one of our first years back doing it. And I don't know where.
Spire, I think, was second that year.
Maybe.
That'd
So
be
last
2019?
year's top 10 was Destiny 2 Beyond Light was our number 10. Number 9 was Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Number 8 was Call of the Sea. Number 7 was Haven. Number 6 was Last of Us Part 2. Number 5 was Call of Duty Warzone. Number 4 was Phasmophobia. Number 3 was Astro's Playroom. Number 2 was Spider-Man Miles Morales. And number 1 was Hades.
Wow, it's a weak year.
It was a weak year. It was totally a weak year.
We got to, I mean, it's a good top 10, but
the top 10 is fine. But I would say a lot of those games would not be on this year's top 10.
No.
The year before the Remnant year, it was Remnant. I know it was Slay the Spire, Death Stranding. I don't remember what else. That was the year you and I sat. We were actually in person, sitting like in like my living room, like across from each other, talking about it. And the year before that, I believe we did a very, very like pared down one, and I think that was the God of War. What's it called year? My God, Justin, my brain.
Oberdin.
Year. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I was telling Bobby earlier this week or towards the tail end of last week, like as long as we've been doing this, I feel like our top 10 lists are always great games, right? But it's usually like a really strong top 5, and then we like argue for like personal favorites and stuff throughout 5 through 10. I think this is the strongest maybe top 6 to 7 I've ever done. Like I feel extremely strongly about 6 to 7 games.
It's close. I would say what's it called? What was that year? What was the Breath of the Wild year? That year was crazy. Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, PUBG. Was that 2016, 2017? I don't remember. 2017?
Oh, that was the famous Kelsey Got Angry podcast.
Yeah. That was that yelled at Kelsey in the Game of the Year podcast.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey was that year. Oh no, Assassin's Creed Origins was that year, and I fought for that. Horizon Zero Dawn was that year.
That was a big year. That was a big year. That was one of those years. So most people in this chat or listening have listened to our Game of the Years, but Justin always does this thing where he like most years, I don't think this year that's happening, but most years will like love a game and then decide not to tell me, so that when we get into like Game of the Year, it's like a huge surprise that like he wants like Slay the Spire to be that high, or he likes Assassin's Creed Odyssey that much, or whatever it might be. He hid from me for a year that he played like 120 hours of Breath of the Wild or whatever that year.
What did I fight? Oh, I really fought for Odyssey that year, but you didn't. You knew I was going to fight for Odyssey.
No, I didn't know about Odyssey. I thought
Mario Odyssey. No,
Mario Odyssey. I thought you were talking about Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
No, that year.
Oh, that was Wolfenstein year too. That was Wolfenstein.
That was a crazy year.
New Colossus or whatever it was called.
New Colossus.
Yeah.
The Mario Odyssey year, I made it known I was going to fight for Mario Odyssey. I just couldn't figure out which game I liked better, Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild.
That year too, the thing that I was surprised about, I was gearing up for this, like, how am I going to negotiate certain games over Horizon Zero Dawn that year? Because I thought like everybody was coming in like Horizon Zero Dawn is the open world game of the, like other than Breath of the Wild or whatever, like everyone was like in on it. And then all of a sudden Justin was like, well, I kind of like Odyssey more, and I had my opening.
I stabbed you in the back hard.
You did stab you in the back. It came out of nowhere. Because I got to make it, because Game of the Year, not so much when it's Justin and I like just one-on-one, but when you have a group of people for Game of the Year, it turns into like, Survivor
politics.
Yeah, like the podcast. So you're kind of like, okay, look, I know you love this game and I love this game. I know you also kind of like this game, but I will give you this game if you cut that other game that I don't like, and you take your support away from it. And you play the game a little bit. And those were always fun.
I miss those.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
As much as I love talking with you about video games, you and I share a lot of the same opinions for the most part. I miss having somebody just come out of left field and be like, well, you know what? I really like.
Other than like your insane opinions you have sometimes about certain things.
I have fantastic opinions about video games. I can't wait to talk about this year's video games.
There's a lot of good video games to talk about, and we're going to get into it. Let's quickly talk about the Game Awards and sort of what was announced and what we were excited about and what they showed. Try to go through like the big stuff and try to like figure out what we got there. I mean, Xbox showed off Senua Saga Hellblade 2, which they said it's gameplay, like, and I believe them. You know, it seemed like what they did with Elden Ring, where they just kind of like took the HUD off of the screen, and just showed you like the gameplay without it. It looked fantastic. Like the look of it, like the actual like graphic fidelity of it looked fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because when you don't see a HUD, it's hard to tell what's actually gameplay. To me, I thought it looked fantastic. But that game looked, and I said this during the show, it looked very much like Rise Son of Rome, which also for its time looked fantastic, but was basically just walking in a straight line at all times and like really no deviations from that. So that's what that looked like to me. You 100% were in control of that character, it looked like, but it doesn't look like you were doing a lot more than walking forward. So I need to see more of what that game looks like.
Yeah.
But that game has an uphill battle to climb.
With you, yes, it absolutely does. You're like one of the few people who did not like the first one. My landlords are like dropping something above me. I don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah, I mean, I liked the first. I didn't go crazy for I thought the first game was good. From like a story and like character perspective, I thought it was really cool. The gameplay wise, it was very, it was very simple, very like just walk forward, beat a bunch of enemies, and walk forward again to kind of get to the next sort of narrative beat that was happening. And that game looked gorgeous as well. Like that original game looked gorgeous on done Ninja Theory kind of doing it on a shoestring budget kind of by themselves. So now that they have Microsoft money behind them, I'm sure this thing is going to look great. They've always made great looking games. So that's something you can never level against their games if they don't look great. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. My guess is that this game is going to end up being much bigger than the first one, and you're going to get a little bit more of that like third person action story character driven thing that that they kind of have been chasing from like the Sony type of game is my guess as to what they're going to do with this game. So they announced a Star Wars game, Justin.
Did they?
They did. Star Wars Eclipse, which is made by Quantic Dream. Quantic Dream is the makers of such wonderful action games as, I don't know, Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls.
Now, listen, I don't have a problem with a game studio trying to go outside of its wheelhouse. The next Fable is coming from the car people at Playground Games.
This is true.
Make Forza. I have no issues with that. If they want to try something new, let's go.
Oh, it's not about them trying something new.
Oh, no. Trust me, I was just opening.
Yeah.
The closer to that conversation is, why the fuck is it Quantum Dream?
I don't know.
What are we doing here? Like, Quantum Dream, it feels like they kind of just, for people who don't know, the studio culture at Quantic Dream was reported on, I'll say about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, to just be total garbage.
Yeah.
Like, everything that Activision is going through right now, there were shades of all of that at Quantic Dream.
Yeah.
And it kind of just was in the news cycle for a couple of weeks and then just quietly went away.
Yeah.
And now Activision has taken the mantle and run with it and continues to lead the race for shitty companies in the video game space. But Quantic Dream didn't really do anything to quell any notions that they're just full of shithousery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was extremely bad that Keighley gets out there and is just like, we're going to talk about, equality and doing the right thing in the gaming space. Now, here's the next Star Wars game from Quantic Dream. Like, it is just bad. I mean, what is it? David Cage's studio head over there.
Yeah.
If you have any questions about this, why don't you just search the name David Cage allegations?
Yeah.
And watch what comes up.
Yeah.
It's not good. Was it a cool looking trailer? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does the idea of being, what is it, during the which time period is that?
The High Republic.
The High Republic, which not a lot of games have had their time to shine in.
They haven't had anything from the High Republic yet. They just really started that stuff in the books and the comics. And so that's like their new big like story initiative is the High Republic stuff.
which sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to get on the ground floor of that stuff. It is just, it's rough with it being Quantic Dream. It's really rough. But, I guess we'll see how this goes. I would love to see if this comes up more as this game's coming closer to being released, because this was just an announcement trailer. This was rumored sometime back in, I'll say, the early summer that this was happening.
Yeah.
Let's see if this stuff comes back up in the news cycle. Let's see if there's any changes made at the studio. Let's just wait and see.
Yeah.
But, as far as the studio doing something that's outside of the wheelhouse, more power to them. I just wish it was a different studio other than this one.
Yeah. Also, they just, despite all the studio culture stuff and, despite all that stuff too, I know their games have their fans, right? But they've never really made a great game. They had some really good ideas with Heavy Rain, but they were very clunkily executed. And David Cage is not again, I don't know who all the creative, like the director of this game. I don't know if Cage is going to be directing this game or it's another part of their team or
Dear
whatever.
God, I hope not.
But like he writes, he's not a great writer. He's not good at writing things that seem natural. He's not good at paying off things. And I just I have just no faith that they can pull off either side of it right now. Because you mentioned Playground Games. Playground Games makes really good video games. And so I can
100%.
believe they have the talent to transfer over and do this other type of video game. The culture or like the output of Quantic Dream has always been one thing, and the gameplay part of it has never been the thing that's been any good about it. So I just can't, I don't know. I just don't believe that it's going to be any good, which sucks because I would like to be excited about a Star Wars game. Something I am excited about is Remedy announced Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Which
that's pretty cool.
Very, very cool. The first game came out in, I think, 2008, 2009, I think, something around that time frame.
I think 2009, because that and take it back, 2010.
2010. What year did Skyrim come out? 2011?
2011.
Okay,
11.
So Alan Wake came out the same year as Red Dead Redemption 1, basically. That's I remember. Yeah. It's one of my favorite games. There was a lot of stuff that happened to Remedy with Alan Wake. They lost the rights for a while, and then they had to take it down because there was something they had to relicense, and they got the rights back. And Control was so successful, and it had Alan Wake stuff incorporated into it. Now they're able to make an Alan Wake 2, which is going to be a survival horror game, is what they said, and not like an action game with horror elements, which is very much what the first game is.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's obviously a very short like CG teaser, but Sam Lake got out there afterwards and talked about it a little bit, and very, very cool. A very neat thing to be happening, and that's something I didn't expect to happen. Alan Wake, who I thought was played by Keanu Reeves. Megs, no. You have this idea that Keanu Reeves is in everything. He's literally in like 2 things. He does like John Wick, and he's doing The Matrix now, and that's like all he does. Then we got, I think, one of the bigger surprises. Like that was a big surprise. Alan Wake 2 was a big surprise. There had been some like rumors and smoke on that one. Something there wasn't smoke on was Monolith making a Wonder Woman game over at WB.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why this is cool. Because this is one of the rare things that didn't get leaked.
Mm-mm.
Nobody knew what Monolith was working on. The fact that this one was held this close to the cards were held this close to WB's chest and nobody got wind of this is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool. And like they said, I believe that they said that they're going to use the Nemesis system since they patent it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like absolutely rad.
Yeah. People don't know who Monolith is. Monolith made the Shadow of Mordor games. Before that, they made the Condemned games, which are very different. But they're a very good studio, and they've been making good games, for a long time. And I think did they make that Mad Max game? Did they?
I don't think that was Monolith, but I'll look at.
No, that was the Just Cause. It was Avalanche. But they used like a Nemesis, part of the Nemesis. That was a Warren Brothers game. It was sort of like done in the style of the Shadow of Mordor games. But I really am excited about it. It's cool. They haven't done something in a while. When did Shadow of War? Is that what it was? It's called Shadow of War, right? When did that come out? Like 2017?
2016, 2017.
Something like that.
I'm looking.
So they're really good at like
2017
hand-to-hand the combat type of games, and with kind of powers and stuff like that, which is perfect for Wonder Woman. I think it's a great marriage of studios. It was funny because I think just the other day someone was talking about like, what is Monolith working on? I wonder if they're working on a DC property, but they mentioned like every other DC property possible than Wonder Woman. So very, very cool. They unveiled Sonic Frontiers, Justin.
So, in listening to other video game podcasts with some very connected people, supposedly the Sonic game is getting some pretty good word of mouth behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Not what I thought. Not what I would have thought when I looked at that trailer.
We're on the Sonic cycle, though, buddy. This is what happens. The new 3D game gets announced. Excitement goes up for it. People convince themselves this is going to be the one. And then it comes out and everyone's disappointed. Like, that's what always happens.
It's an open zone I was going to say podcast. Jesus, it's an open zone game.
Yes.
So they're just going and leaning in very heavily to their zone.
Yes, because all the worlds
instead of saying open worlds.
Yeah, all the worlds are called zones in Sonic games.
Look, if it's cool, I'll play it, but I need to see a little bit more.
There are very few good 3D Sonic games, so it has a lot. It has a lot to prove. In fact, most of them are quite bad. So it has a lot to prove going through this whole business. But still, a cool trailer. Definitely, like, you're seeing in this year and a little bit last year, but mostly this year and ahead. The development cycles that started after Breath of the Wild came out, and these games all the games have sort of been influenced by it. Sort of adapting and adopting some of its tenets and some of its looks and some of its iconography, because that stuff is all. If you would just take Sonic out of that trailer and put Link into it, I would have believed that it was a Zelda zone. It does not look like your traditional Sonic game. Not that that's a bad thing at all, but it's just it's a different look for it. We got those two games that were either from Telltale or by former Telltale people, which were The Expanse, which is from whatever Telltale is now. I don't know who works at Telltale anymore. I don't know if any of the people who used to work at Telltale still work there, or it's just like a resurrected name, because I know like a venture capital company like resurrected the name. And I know when they finished off Walking Dead, they like hired on a contract basis a bunch of people who got let go, because people don't remember what happened with Telltale. Basically, it got shut down overnight. Basically, one day they were just like, the owners of Telltale were like, it's closed, and everyone was out of a job, and there was no severance, and it was a terrible thing that happened. And then a kind of venture capital company came in and resurrected the name and said like, okay, we're gonna hire on some of the people who were still available, who were working on Walking Dead season 3 or season 4, whatever it was, to come on and finish that up. And then I don't know what happened after that. But they are making an Expanse game. And then the other one was Star Trek Resurgence, which is from a studio called Dramatic Labs, which is made up of former Telltale people. I think both these probably make a lot of sense for this type of game, right? They're not like action franchises, but they are a very popular science fiction properties. So this, I think, makes sense rather than trying to shove them into like an action framework. But you know The Expanse more than I do. I'm just assuming things about The Expanse from what little I've watched or know about it.
I mean, to get a Expanse game with one of the voice actresses, or one of the actors from the show, that's funny because that character is not, I'll say, one of the main characters of that show. She's a side character who gains popularity throughout the seasons. So for them to focus a game around Drummer is kind of awesome. And, she's a really cool character in the show. So yeah, I'm excited to see that.
I mean, you think that's what they have to do, right? Because they're not gonna do it about any of the central like main characters.
Well,
How could you do it?
I mean, you could do it with like, the main people, like, the Rossi crew is a group of like 4 people, and you could do like a Guardians of the Galaxy style game in that world with those characters, but they chose to take one of the side characters and do it, and they picked a really good one.
Yeah, but to me it says like if you're grabbing like voice actress from the show, then you're kind of setting it within like the fiction of the show. So
Yeah,
it's more like that Game of
probably.
Thrones game, right? Where you played as like a
forgot
new
about that.
character. Yeah, but then there were other characters from the actual show in it. But you weren't like interacting with them in any sort of like real way. That's what it feels like to me. Grun, I'll get to your question in a moment. Arc Raiders, Justin.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to see this or not, but I'm really glad that we did. So basically, it's filled with either the guy who's running DICE for EA a couple of years ago is Patrick Sunderland, and he left, and a bunch of DICE employees left with him to go form Embark Studios. And they have been on Twitter the last couple of years, like showing tech stuff, like showing little snippets of gameplay, but you never knew if it was just like proof of concept or if it was like an actual thing. And they would post concept art, and they were like, oh, we have like 2 games in the works, but they didn't know which game was going to, they hadn't announced which one of these games was actually going to take the lead. And that's Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders took the lead. It's a 3rd-person, free-to-play, co-op shooter, which I guess could sound super generic, I guess.
I mean, it is
a
lot of video games,
but it's a lot. It is a lot of video games. The game has a bit of style to it. Like they freaking ran the trailer over a Robin song. So it definitely stood out in that way. And then like you're fighting these giant machines. It looks like it's wave based, and like the longer you fight, the bigger the machines get. But just like it was one of those games where it's like, are we seeing gameplay? Is this actual gameplay? Because this looks almost too nice to be gameplay. But no, it was gameplay.
Yeah, it looked real good.
So I'm, it's a co-op shooter. So instantly the little light bulb in my head goes off. And I was just like, well, you need to pay attention to this now. But coming from like ex-DICE people, the Battlefield games, say what you want about them, but they've always looked really good.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they've always played pretty good. So I'm excited to see more of this. Comes out in 2022.
Yeah. No, Megs, this is not the studio that did Falcon Age. That's that Thirsty Suitors game that they announced, which also looks very good. But yeah, this game looks cool. DICE obviously just I would say unsuccessfully, because it sold pretty well its first month. But Battlefield 2042, DICE had a lot of problems. Vincent Pella from Respawn is sort of going in to like fix things where they're going on over there at Battlefield. But a lot of the reason why a lot of this stuff happened with Battlefield is because a lot of people from DICE left. A lot of the senior people left. I don't know how many people went to Embark, but quite a few of them I think went to Embark. So they are, that gives, I think, promise to whatever this game is, at the detriment of Battlefield. But it's supposed to come out next year. It's supposed to be pretty close. Like it's not a game that's like super far off. So we'll see, soon when we get to see some of that. We saw some Suicide Squad gameplay, which I thought looked nice. I still want to know what how it works, like moment to moment. Like, are you picking a character? Are you switching? Is it like mission? Is it assigned to you mission by mission? Like, what's the structure? I'm assuming it's going to be like open, like Arkham City or Arkham Knight. I'm assuming it's going to be something like that.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering what their conceit is for these much more powerful characters, not just being able to murder them instantly.
Yeah.
The
Flash should take care of this problem with no morality in mere seconds.
Yes, exactly.
It even takes that long.
I'm just wondering.
But it's a video game, so we have to have some sort of.
It's like they did in Injustice when they were like, oh,
discrepancy. Yeah.
Everyone took this serum that made them all kind of equal power or whatever. I'm just wondering like what it is. Like if they do like a whole do like a Brainiac controlling them, but like there's still part of them in there, so they can't be made to do like they can't be made to murder or whatever. I don't know what they're gonna have to give some reasoning for it, because even in that trailer, it's like the Flash could have killed them all of them, like very easily. But if so I want to see what it is.
It's been so long since Arkham Knight.
It's been a very long time.
I was thrilled to actually just see some gameplay.
Yeah,
and like to me, like that it looks like a good time. King Shark bit a dude's head off. I can get down with that.
Yeah, King Shark was also holding like a Gatling gun. So that was
also kind of cool.
Yes. We saw more of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is that new game from the Borderlands people. Ashley Birch and Will Arnett had a pretty like funny little patter on stage, and they showed a trailer for it. It looks like Borderlands, but maybe with some magic in it. Like that's the vibe I got from that trailer.
As our friend Andy said, you get one playthrough out of me. Just one. Don't ask to make a second character. We're going through it once.
This Crossfire X game, which they announced a couple years ago. I think that was at the Cyberpunk E3, the Microsoft's conference that they showed that.
Was that long ago?
I'm pretty sure it was. I was at your house watching that Xbox press conference when we saw Crossfire X.
That was the Cyberpunk year.
Yeah. I think that was also the Elden Ring year, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
So
it doesn't feel that long ago.
Yeah. Unless I was there for two of them. I could have been over here for two of them. It's possible.
I've lost track.
Crossfire X is this game that I think it's Smilegate Entertainment, which I think it's very popular in. God, I can't. It's in like East Asia. I know that. I don't know which country. It's like hugely popular game. It's coming. It's a free to play shooter. It's coming over to the West, but along with its launch, Remedy, as we spoke of before, makers of Control and Alan Wake, are doing a campaign for it. So that should be interesting to see that, and that launches, I think, soon, February 10th. That game comes out. Another February game for us there. They just showed. They also showed. Speaking of Elden Ring in our chat, they showed us like the story, what is most definitely the intro story cinematic for Elden Ring. They showed it at the Game Awards. We saw a little bit of that Halo TV show as well, which had some nice visuals. It looked different than I was expecting, so whatever. Yeah. I'll watch it. They renamed Xbox Game Pass for PC to PC Game Pass, which makes a lot of sense. They announced a release date for Tunic. They also showed off a new game from the makers of Friday the 13th and that Predator game. It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. It's a similar type of asymmetrical multiplayer. Homeworld 3 got a trailer. What else here? Thirsty Suitors, which I was talking before, the Falcon Age dev. That's the Annapurna game. Looks sort of like Indian Scott Pilgrim. Yeah. Looks neat though. It looks like I'm sure it'll have a great voice cast. It says a neat personality. Oh, that Evil West gameplay reveal trailer looked interesting. It was like that Western, but with like modern guns, and they spent like demons and shit. That looked cool. That was a good trailer.
Also looked cool was Have a Nice Death.
Have a Nice Death, yes, looked very neat. Like at first we were getting strong. What's it called? Death's Door vibe from it, but it looks more like a Hollow Knight type of situation.
Yes,
a faster playing Hollow Knight. I will say. There are a couple of indie games. Planet of Lana, which we had seen before, looks really nice as well. And they showed some other stuff. They showed, they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to Epic Game Store. I think it's on there now. I think
Somerville,
which looks amazing. It looked great at E3, and it looks great here too. One of the makers of Inside and Limbo went off to make their own studio, and this is the game they're making. It looks great. The Cuphead DLC, we got a date for it, June 30th, 2022. The Delicious Last Course, which I did not realize until I was listening to a podcast that Delicious Last Course is DLC. Didn't even realize.
Did not realize that either.
Was not thinking about that at all. PUBG is going free to play.
Boy.
What's up? What'd you say, oh boy, about?
So I hate to break into this very quickly, but we've got the one word review from Mark
Okay.
on Spider-Man
Okay.
No Way Home. Would you like to hear the one word?
One word. Is it spoilery?
No, I won't.
Okay.
It's not spoilery. It's
Okay.
a one word review. He promised us this. He'd let
Okay.
us know.
Yeah.
The word is vindication.
Okay. I don't know what that means from coming from Mark.
I don't know what that means either. Thanks so much, Mark.
Mark has so many axes to grind about the stuff that he watches and sees that you can't even begin to imagine what that means. What was I gonna say? PUBG is going free to play, like I said. They showed that Lord of the Rings Gollum game, which did not look good.
It looks kind of awful.
Yeah. That Nightingale game, which was looked like a co-op, like it looked like kind of like a Valheim, like the time travel-y Valheim game with guns.
They had me on that game until the Valheim parts of it came out, and I was like, oh fuck. But I'll still, it still looks cool enough that I want to try.
Yeah. Forspoken still looks neat. I believe they dropped a release date on that, but I can't remember what it was because the story mode doesn't have it.
March.
Okay.
March.
Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. Space Marine was a game that I think came out in like 2009 or something like that. It was like a Gears of War clone type of game. And it's crazy that it's having a sequel. Lanny, I do not know why Gollum's eyes look like that. He looks like a DreamWorks character. And does not fit with like the rest of the aesthetic in the game. It's so weird. It's so weird. Very, very strange. They showed something from Saints Row, a gameplay trailer for that. Nightmare Before Christmas stuff and Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. A Dune RTS was announced. A lot of stuff. They showed a really long music video for that OKV game, which I don't know why they showed that at all.
Why'd they show that?
Metal Hellsinger, which I know Cody is very excited about. Rumbleverse. They announced Rumbleverse, which is I think 45 player pro wrestling battle royale. Basically, it kind of looks, it has a Fortnite style. They ran like a 1 day like test thing the day after the Game Awards. I got to play a couple of matches and it seems fun. You know, you drop in, you pick up buffs and you pick up books to like learn new special moves, and it seems neat. I want to, it'll be free to play, so I'm interested to play it when it actually comes out. I think that's really it. I mean, they showed a lot of trailers for stuff, and
I think you got them. You got
I got most of the big stuff. I got most of the big stuff there.
They showed that Matrix stuff. Which
we played anyway, so we can talk about that. We don't want to talk about the Matrix though, because Megs will get angry because you know who's in the Matrix. Megs is
John Wick.
Yeah, John Wick. No, Alan Wake.
Alan Wake.
Alan Wake is in the Matrix. Andy coming in with his glowing praise. I played the alpha. It was fine. About Rumbleverse.
I tried to play that alpha and I could not. I missed it.
Mark's sending more messages, and I don't know what he's gonna write. I'm scared to look.
He's fine.
Okay. So that was the Game Awards. If you want to watch our live reacts to it, that video is still up. You can check that out on our YouTube channel, misadventure.land. And yeah, we talked about it for a while. I had to go into YouTube and edit the video because the whole video got taken down because of a minute-long Matrix trailer that they showed. Like, not the game footage, the actual trailer for the movie. They didn't want a commercial from their movie being spread around, I guess. So
I just don't understand what's happening with the world today.
I don't understand either. Even so, you could officially co-stream the Game Awards if you'd like. There was like an approval process and an application process. Everybody could do it. We didn't officially, obviously, co-stream it. We were just doing it sort of on our own. But even people who officially co-streamed the event, their videos got taken down because of it. And technically, in that case, everything that's on the Game Awards should be cleared for you to stream. So it's just like crazy. It's just crazy. But anyway, that's inside baseball. We don't need to talk about that too much. I played that Matrix Awakens like Unreal demo. It's mostly a demo for Unreal Engine 5. And there are times where it is very, very impressive visually.
You could tell them what I said last night when I was playing it, and you guys were on mic.
Yeah. So the other night we were on mic. We had finished playing Fortnite, I think, or Warzone. I don't remember what thing we were trying out at that point. But Justin, we were sitting on the mic and we were just chatting and partying, not playing anything, and I could hear like controller stuff happening on Justin's end of the party, and all of a sudden he goes, "Is this this current Keanu Reeves real or a digital person?" And I was like, there is not a single real person in that entire Matrix video that you're going through right now.
So I have showed that to a few different people, and they continue. It is fun watching other people's minds be blown like mine was, because you know, usually you can tell.
Yeah.
But that close up of Keanu's face,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. Once I looked a little bit harder at the eyes, I could tell. But at first glance, you're like, oh, Keanu's just talking to me.
Yeah.
And so I go to Keanu. I'm like, well, why? What's the deal with you and Megs? What's the dislike here? And then eventually Keanu's video game eyes gave it away that I had failed the Turing test.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was impressive. I mean, the demo itself is basically an on rails thing where
it's like a shooting gallery,
some cars and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a shooting gallery, but it looks really nice.
It looks very nice.
It looks real impressive. I actually thought the most impressive thing about that entire thing was at the end, where they're kind of just showing you like what the Unreal Engine can do. Like they built up a city, and they're showing you like, oh, okay, here's daytime, here's nighttime, here's what like you can't see, and it's just like all the pixels that they have going, and it's like you could turn these on and off, and this and that, and then you could walk around in that city, and I thought that was crazy.
Yeah. It is nice, and you can like fly this. You can walk around the character, or you can fly like the camera around. And it's pretty impressive. You can fly the camera really, really, really fast. And it never hitches up, and there's not pop in, and it's pretty impressive how that stuff goes. And there are like little points of interest on the map. I don't know what they are. I didn't spend a lot of time like going around, but you can hop in any car basically and drive wherever you want. And it's pretty neat. It really shows off their system.
So those points of interest are, if you go there, it'll be a spot where it's just like, this is a really good spot for you to see the day and night cycle.
Okay, yeah. I went to one that was like a interior that was like all there was like a ton of windows all around, and I knew it was like them showing off like how the light came in and how it bounced and how like real it looked, and that was very cool. That was very neat. Yeah, see, it's like if you want to play it, it takes like 8 minutes to basically play the game part of it, and then you could spend as much time as you wanted, you know, kind of going through the city if you really just wanted to check it out and explore. But it's neat because they explain too in the demo how they do a lot of the stuff, like Justin was saying, and what is like procedurally generated and what is like being streamed and what is, you know, how they do it, and it's pretty fascinating. What they let you mess around with.
Speaking of Unreal Engine 5,
yes.
We've been playing some Unreal Engine 5.
We have.
In a video game.
We have.
Called Fortnite.
It's called Fortnite. If anybody heard of it, this new video game, it's called Fortnite.
New video game. Not that popular. It'll probably catch on with a streamer or two.
Yes.
So Bobby and I are back on our bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Where we check back in with Fortnite for a season while we're not playing Apex or anything else really at the moment in the Battle Royale space. And the Spider-Man trailer came out and was just like, you know, it was a Sunday morning. I was having my coffee and I watched the trailer. I was like, well, I need to show this to people. And then as I was hitting the send button, I got the notification on my phone from Andy, who was like, we should check this. We should go back in and check this out.
Yeah.
So, we've been playing Fortnite. I bought the Battle Pass. Bobby bought the extended Battle Pass.
Yes, because I had many V-Bucks in my
many V-Bucks
in my account.
I didn't have any.
Because I signed up one time for that Fortnite Club thing, and it gave me a bunch of V-Bucks.
Hey, look, however it works, right? If I could, I would. In fact, I'm probably going to play Fortnite after this podcast and grab those.
Oh, buy that Spider-Man skin?
Home skins.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy those Spider-Man skins.
You're not going to buy the Zendaya one?
No. I need to be Spider-Man.
There's something hilarious about being able to be Zendaya walking around Fortnite in multiple movies.
Yes. we've gotten a couple of victory. We've actually won
Gotten
like
quite a few victory
shocking amount of Fortnite.
I
Even
think
our
we've
old man
won at
hands are getting
least
better
once every night we've
every
played.
night. Yeah,
And if not more than once, sometimes more than once.
It's kind of funny in a way because we went from playing Fortnite and we were like, well, let's check out the new Warzone map. Let's go back to Warzone, sit down and check out this new map. And, you know, we've heard good things about that map, and we sat down, we played for the night. And although I think the map is, you know, visually much interesting, much more interesting than Verdansk, it wasn't hitting our group at all. Like, we've kind of just bypassed Warzone. And even though at the beginning of this podcast, we thought it was like the number 5 game the year that it came out, it's just I think our tastes have changed a little bit.
I will say, if you go back and listen to that podcast, Justin, I was definitely like, I don't know, it's not even in my top 10.
Oh, really? I don't remember that at all. I think that's just because you didn't like that game when it first came out.
No, I never have. I never really like.
I
never was like in love with it. I played it a lot and I enjoyed playing it with you guys, but it was never like. If we go back and listen to all of the time developing us Warzone, I always had issues with like the map, the flow of the game, all that kind of stuff, the economy of the game. Like, I always think that stuff is a little bit like was always a little bit broken.
See, I really, really like Warzone, and I liked what we played the other night, but just knowing our group and being like, all right, well, like, you know, unfortunately, I'll say there's like 3 really good, 4 if we count PUBG, 4 really good battle royales, and we're just never going to play all 4 of them. We barely have time for 3, let alone, you know, we barely have time for 2, let alone 3.
Yeah.
So like we've kind of settled into a thing where it's like we play some Fortnite for a while, and then when we're done with that, we go back to Apex, all while having a regular first-person shooter to play when we're not in the mood for battle royale, which right now is Halo.
Yeah. I'm never really not in, I'm really never really not in the mood for a battle royale. It just depends on whatever one we're playing at the moment.
There are some nights where it's just like, oh, I'm not really in the mood to do like the stress of a battle royale, even though Fortnite's not stressful at all, and somehow we get ourselves out of situations in Fortnite that should be physically impossible. And we get ourselves out of them and
we've gotten like just low mediocre good enough at the building to get out of situations. You can't outbuild anybody for sure that's any good at it, but
no.
But I will say now my instinct is a little bit better. When somebody starts shooting at me, I'm immediately hitting that build button and starting to build walls. Where it used to be like, I'm gonna look around and see where they're shooting and try to shoot them back. You know, I'm just like, no, build a wall and then I'll figure it out later. You know, so we've gotten like mediocre enough at it where we can get out of situations. And then, you know, so many people play Fortnite that you get into firefights with like, you know, small children, I feel like. And so
we definitely do.
So it helps, it pads those stats a little bit, you know?
It definitely does. I can tell when we're playing somebody who's either playing on phone or is a small child because of the movements that they're making. And it's just like, I feel bad about this.
Yeah.
But eat this shotgun, motherfucker.
Yeah. The web swinging stuff is good. The web swinging stuff is good.
The web swinging stuff is awesome. Yeah. Like it feels shockingly good.
Yeah.
To swing around in that game. Like, they put some serious work into the web swinging because you always know when you're playing a Spider-Man game, like, is this a good Spider-Man game or a bad Spider-Man game just by how the web swinging feels. And this is a good Spider-Man game that somehow found its way into Fortnite.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying doing all the challenges and running around just trying to get XP. Like, all that's, I've always enjoyed that part about Fortnite.
Yeah. Oh, and that I don't know when they implemented it. So anybody watching or listening can, you know, can tell me that, but this like new like you know, co-op complete challenges thing like is great. So
it's fantastic.
You know, if Justin and I have the same, you know, we have the same like daily challenges, you know, we have to go you know, open 5 or 10, you know, armor ammo boxes. It's not like we have to go there and let Justin do the 10 and then I get to the 10 and Annie gets to the 10. We share the progress of the quest all with each other as long as we're in a squad together. And that is awesome because it makes it much more enjoyable. Because, you know, we would when we were playing, the times when we were playing Fortnite before, it would be like, okay, like this time let me open the crate. No, don't shoot anybody, just let me open the chests. You know, I'll open the chests here. Like you don't open the chests, and now we don't have to do that anymore, which I think is nice. Like I said, Megs, I don't know, because the last time I played really was that the Mandalorian season was the last time I played, and I played a little bit of that season, and that was it. I played a lot of that Marvel season, and then a little bit of that Mandalorian season, and that's it. So it's been probably a year really since I played it. So
it's good stuff.
It's good stuff. Yeah, it's good. We've been having fun with it. So you mentioned Halo before. The campaign is out now.
It is. You're done with it.
I finished said campaign. I didn't finish everything in the open world, because the game is really separated into two distinct type of areas, which is kind of the playground, sandboxy open world section, and then the story mission stuff, which is the open world stuff you've probably seen a lot of. Like you have the grappling hook, you're able to scale, huge mountains and grapple enemies, and it's a big fun sandbox to play in. Very different than your classic style Halo game. Though I do feel like when you get in those combat situations, it still very much feels like Halo combat, except I feel so much more like a badass in it than I've ever felt as Master Chief in any of the games, because I get around and away from people so fast. It's like insane. And then the other side of it are the story mission things, which not all of them, but most of them, you sort of go into a building and you go into, your AI will open up the building for you. You'll go in, and then you'll sort of into a more classic, like Halo corridor, complex, where you're going down like similar looking hallways and fighting enemies and like progressing towards an objective, for the story. So those are the two the sides of the game. And I would say like, they complement each other pretty nicely. I would say that the most core fun of the game is definitely the open world sandbox part of the game. The story missions are good, but a lot of the interiors are kind of samey, so you're ending up in like looking in the same looking places. But the actual like story stuff that those missions are delivering, I think, is really good. And as someone who I've always played Halo for the campaigns, and I like the campaigns. I'm not someone who's like, I've never read any of the books. I don't keep up with the lore in any sort of like real way, but I've always enjoyed the story and lore of the games. And this one delivered, I think, a really good story for me. Like the main bad guy, the one that you're kind of like going up against the whole game, is sort of, is not very inspired, but the other stuff around it, I think, is quite good. I think it's the best Halo campaign I've played since. I think it's definitely 343's best. I will say that. Not even as someone who hasn't finished Halo 4, I played probably like 2 or 3 hours of Halo 4, and all of 5. This is, I think, definitely the best that 343 has done.
I'm doing the exact opposite of what Bobby's doing. I am clearing out that map 100% before I get to the next story bit, so it's taking me much, much longer. But yeah, I'm a couple of hours into the open world, and it's great. It's just fantastic. It's got that Titanfall thing about it, where it's just like all this just feels so good that I don't care what we're doing. I don't care that the open world is it's a very standard open world. It's a very 2012 idea of what an open world is. There's a couple of icons on the map. So far, they're all the same type of activities, but it doesn't matter to me that I'm going and hunting down this one target, or freeing a bunch of soldiers that are being held, or taking over a forward operating base. It just feels so goddamn good to play. And that sandbox that Bobby mentioned, of just getting out there and just opening your arms and just accepting everything that game has to give you. So I'm playing the game on heroic, which is like one step up from normal, but not legendary. And the reason I chose to do that was because in other Halo games, you're just an overpowered monster. Like you're just steamrolling things. And the thing is, like, they give you a lot of tools in this game. Like that grapple hook is freaking great. I would equate that grapple hook with the feeling of recalling the axe in God of War. that feeling when you hit triangle and the axe flew back and landed in your hand, it never stopped being great. And the grapple hook never stops being fantastic. Just the feeling of hooking onto something is to someone and going towards them and punching them, or hooking onto a ledge and just grappling yourself forward, popping up above somebody and then shooting down at them. So I'm finding that like I'm using the grapple a lot in combat.
Yeah.
Where like I'm like, you know, because it's a little bit more difficult, like I'm using the grapple to get out of combat, and then I've upgraded it to where it recharges very quickly. And now like, okay, I'm short on ammo on my guns, so I grapple one of these exploding canisters into my hand, and I jump and I throw it, and then I switch to my little like sonar thing. I shoot that down. I get behind cover. I see how many guys are there. I grapple another one of those things, and I throw exactly where they're going to be, and I'm not guessing where the guy is. Like, all that feels so good that I'm having just a wonderful time.
You mentioned the switching to the threat sensor and back, and Megs points out in chat, and this is one of the things we talked about. One of my kind of main gripes with any of like the mechanical stuff is if it's very small. You know, it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the game, but I wish the grapple hook was kind of like its own separate, like, it's just its thing. Like, you always have the grapple hook, and then you have these other gadgets like the threat detector and the drop shield and the thrust as like another set of things you can cycle between and use as well as the grappling hook. Because the amount of times I used not the grapple hook at any point other than when I was in the story missions sometimes was next to nothing. Like, when I was in the open world, I never changed. Like, I never changed out of it, mostly because you have to hit like right on the D-pad, and then like unless you memorize them, the
you
prompts
have to memorize them
for how you change, because they're all deep assigned to the D-pad. So you hit right in the D-pad, then you have to pick like on the D-pad which gadget you want to use by hitting it in the direction on the D-pad. It's so small. Like, it would be better if they just showed the one direction you're supposed to hit. They show the whole D-pad and then a little black mark for which way you have to, or white mark for where you have to hit to go to the next gadget. And it's just not. And there's a thing at the end. There was like a fight near the end of the game, a big boss battle, where I was using the grappling hook for the beginning of it, and then needed to switch to the like threat sensor or whatever. And I had to do it on the fly every time, and I would die to the boss, but they would load me back in. It was always before I switched off of the grapple hook to the threat detector. So I was having to switch it every single time. And I just wish there was like an easier way to it. Like, even like a radial menu, you know, would come up or something. It'd be better.
Once you have it down though, it's really not that bad. Like, all I got to do is just hit right down.
Right. But I so rarely switched. I so rarely switched that I was never thinking about it. Cause I was in the open world. Like, the grapple hook was everything I wanted it to be. It would stun enemies. It would get me away from enemies. It would get me closer to enemies. It could get me those exploding barrels. You can steal weapons with the grapple hook in certain situations. So like,
it should be. I totally agree that they should have just given you the grapple hook and then let you play with a couple of the other things.
Yeah.
Because it just feels so goddamn good.
Yeah.
I just want to get to this one question in chat from Alejandro, who asks how lost they would be having not played 4 or 5. And I will say, I mean, if you understand the concept of Cortana eventually getting rampancy and kind of becoming a quasi-villainish character, thinking that she's doing the right thing, but she's kind of lost her mind, that's basically all you need to know. Because the way this game starts out, completely spoiler-free, we're talking about just the opening 5 minutes of the game, has nothing to do with anything that happened in 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's happening with Cortana is something that is not really discussed very much. Because at the end of Halo 5, Cortana has gone rampant. She has convinced other AIs to join her on this quest and like to abandon humanity and to possibly go do some stuff on some Halo rings. And it's like, this is all bad. And then the game starts and it is some unknown time in the future. And Master Chief is fighting the bad guys from Halo Wars 2. And they're above a Halo ring. and things happen, and there is nothing, almost nothing to do with the end of Halo 5.
No.
And the game is kind of filling you in as you're playing it through audio logs and some, like, so far that I've seen, some like very small story bits on, what happens? Why do I not know this? So they've definitely made a choice. Bobby and I have had a couple of discussions about how they could have done this better. Because other friends of mine have come to me and been like, did I miss something? Was there a book I was supposed to read? Or did this story get told into a different game? And it's just like, nope, they just decided to like drop you into a cold open.
Yeah.
Which works in other forms of media, but this one, like, if you just swallow it and go, I'm assuming they're going to tell me, you can deal with it. And that's what I've done. But if you were like, yeah, I need to know, like, I'm really excited, you're going to be very confused when you start this video game.
Yeah, for someone who played Halo, so I'll say this, I finished the campaign now, right? And I think that having played Halo 5 definitely, I think, helped me a little bit, helped them, some of the moments they kind of go over have a little bit more impact. But I will say this, I think the game, although on its face doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like it's rebooting itself from what happened in Halo 4 and 5, which it's not, it's continuing that story. Throughout the campaign, they do fill in, they will flat out tell you what happened at the end, basically at the end of Halo 5, and sort of like catch you up on what is happening, what has happened, and the kind of stakes of the world through some cutscenes and stuff that happen. So, I would say you're not gonna be any more lost than anybody else starting out the game, and then the game will kind of inform you about what has happened. I will say, having finished the game, it does feel like we're missing a game like in between the end of Halo 5 and the beginning of Halo Infinite. I don't know if that game needs to exist, but sort of like it feels like a lot of stuff happened in between when Halo 5 ended and Halo Infinite begins. I will say that. Stuff that I think in a normal schedule of Halo, like if Halo 5 had hit big, right? If it hadn't been like kind of disappointment or a letdown, I think you would have seen a game that more directly followed. You would have seen a Halo 6 that like directly followed off of what how Halo 5 ended. And this game, I think, is obviously intentionally trying to give itself some space from that, because it wants people who didn't play Halo 4 or 5 to play this game. It doesn't want you to feel like you have to play 4 or 5. That's why it's not called Halo 6, right?
Yeah.
So
if you just go in with that knowledge about Cortana, like, okay.
I will say this, you don't even have to go with that knowledge, because they will flat out tell you in the campaign missions what happened with Cortana. So you don't even have to go in with that knowledge. And in fact, it might be better to not go in with it, or not to go in, not look up what happened in Halo 5, because you'll probably be less worried about what you've missed if you don't, if the way the game starts. Because the game very much front loads with a bunch of stuff that nobody knows anything about, including people who have played all of the Halo games, and then starts to sort of like give out the other information later on. And I think it's actually pretty when I got to the point where they were starting to give out information, it was a pretty effective storytelling strategy. I just wish the very beginning had some sort of like text thing that was like 10 months
later, 10 months later.
1 year ago, the AI Cortana went rampant, and her longtime command master, Spartan 117 had to, whatever. Like, if it had said that and then it started where we were, I think it would have been fine. But it was a little confusing. I will say though, the campaign is very good, and I think if you're a Halo fan, if you liked Halo 1 through Reach or whatever, all the Bungie Halos, this feels the most like a Bungie Halo. I think that 343 has done, while still putting their own stamp on it, because the open world and stuff feels very different. But I'm saying from a storytelling perspective, and even I think from a visual perspective, like when you're in those interiors and stuff like that, or even out on Zeta Halo, it evokes that original sort of like Bungie Halo Combat Evolved like look way more than I think 4 and 5 did. Because 4 and 5 really tried to like push it into a more modern visual style, I think. Even sometimes like making things too detailed and too whatever. And I think this goes back a little bit to like that more like simple geometry stuff that Halo was known for, but it's still it's a very good looking game. Don't get me wrong, it's not a simple looking game, but it evokes, when we talked so much before about this, right, about what is Halo in 2021, right? How do you make a game that feels like Halo but also feels modern? And they've done it with the multiplayer, and they've also done it with the single player, I think. So it's very, very good. I like I said, I gave my like sort of like critiques or gripes about it, but overall I think it's very, very good. And
I will report back.
Yeah.
Probably right around the time for Game of the Year.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a very long game, I'll say that too. Like, I think even to do what Justin is doing, it takes like 20 hours to like complete it, like completionist it.
Yeah.
So like, I think you can beat the campaign in like 10. I think I did it in like 15 hours or something like that. Because I did, basically what I would do is like, I would do a mission, and then I would go to like the nearest like FOB or forward operating base, and I do all the objectives in between or around that FOB on the way to the next objective, you know? Like, that's what I would do. I would clear all that stuff out and go to the next objective. And then I push forward. But there is a point in the game, and I told this to Justin, and I think everyone should know this, right? There is a mission. I think it's called The Sequence, is what it's called. Where the game, you start a story mission, and then the game spits you back out in the open world and asks you to do basically like, do 4 things. Like, there's these 4 things spread across the open world you have to do. After you do those 4 things, it sends you back to a point, and it will send you back into like an interior structure. Once you go into the interior structure at the end of this mission, you do not have a chance to do open world stuff again until the game is over and you're back out in the open world. So you beat the game. So I just a warning. That's like the last that's like third of the game, basically.
They don't give that, usually video games give that warning of this is the point of no return.
No, there's no
for
warning.
A while.
I mean, it doesn't matter because the end of the game just spits you back. It's not like you can just go start doing it. It doesn't really matter. But and there is a point where I guess you could do it at some point, but I feel like I didn't see any fast travel points back to where I was in the story mission, so I didn't want to like mess around with it. Yeah. It is on Game Pass, and he says it's free. It's the multiplayer is free. You have to have a subscription to Game Pass if you want to play Halo Infinite. Not pay $60 for it. But it's great. So I think if you have any interest at all, you should definitely play it. I played 45 minutes of the Gunk before this podcast, Justin.
I was wondering if you were going to get that in or not.
Yeah, I was trying to just play a little bit of it because I'm very excited about it. Image and Form Games. It's the people who made the SteamWorld game, SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Dig 2. By the way, SteamWorld Dig 2. If you like Metroidvania type games, just definitely play that game. It's like one of the best.
It was free on Steam like 2 weeks ago.
I feel like it's been free a bunch of places a lot of times, but yeah, it's fucking great. Well,
I scooped it up. So the Gunk is only like 4 to 5 hours long.
Yes.
Which is like that music right into my ear.
Yeah, exactly.
Just shove it in there. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Because we're in the time of year where it's like, I've got games to play.
Yeah.
And every week there's like, oh shit, I should really check this out. Oh shit, I should really check this out. So a 4 to 5 hour game, beautiful. Yeah.
So the Gunk is the premise of the Gunk is you are one of this like pair of like, they're like space junkers basically. They go out and they look for resources to go sell to pay for their life, like space truckers. They find that the game opens up. They're heading to this planet where they find this weird energy signal. They drop it. One of them drops in on her hand. Basically, her arm is like a tool. It can suck up resources, and she also has a scanner. And you find this stuff on the planet, this gunk that's like polluting the planet and obscuring like the signal. So you have to remove the gunk, and every time you remove like an area of the gunk, the world kind of springs back to life. All this vegetation pops up, and so far, like I'm 45 minutes in, but that's a fifth of the game or whatever. It's really about exploring this world. There's some like light platforming and light puzzle solving. And you're trying to remove this gunk, clean up the world, and discover this signal while upgrading your equipment. And there is some combat as well. There are some enemies that you have to fight. I don't know how intense it gets. What I saw so far was not super intense. It's the only thing you can do is suck up stuff and scan stuff, and you can throw stuff basically with the thing you suck up the gunk with. So that's kind of the limit of your sort of interactivity with this stuff. But scanning is cool. It gives you a game. It gives me a little bit of the vibes of it's not like cheeky like this, but that in oh my god, Journey to the Savage Planet game that we played. a couple of years ago. It has like
can
some
see
of that
Yep.
idea to it, where you're sort of clearing off obstacles and scanning stuff and like learning stuff and upgrading your shit. It's also got, it's one of those games like, I mean, even that game we talked about in the top 10 last year, that game, what was it, Haven or whatever, where you go around the planet and you have to take all the corruption away. It's got that same sort of idea to it. I haven't seen like, there was like one section where it's like, you have to upgrade your gauntlet before you can do the thing that lets you get through this thing. I saw that once. I haven't seen that anymore, so I don't know how much of like a Metroidvania type of thing it is, where you have to go through. But I will say this, like, it's got a really good look, and also like the lighting in it is really great. Like, it's got modern, really nice lighting in sort of like this very different aesthetic from what they've done before, image and form, because a lot of stuff is 2D and this is 3D, and but it's got that same sort of like so far satisfying loop to it. I don't know how well it's going to stand up over the 5 hours, but so far it's been really fun. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to suck up the stuff and suck up materials, and I need to upgrade my shit, and like, it's got that good those good vibes to it so far. So we'll see. I don't know how the story's going to develop, because like SteamWorld Dig 2 has like a sneaky, pretty good story, and I don't know if that's what it's going to be like here. But they're a real good developer, and it's cool to see them sort of branching out and doing other things. This game also on Game Pass, I believe PC and Xbox. So if you have Game Pass, you can get that. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's on Steam, but I don't know how much it costs on Steam. My guess is 25. Okay, I was gonna say 20, but $25 on Steam. You can get it in those places. But it's only console only on Xbox. It's not on PlayStation or Switch. So cool so far though. And I'm like I said, it's 45 minutes. I'm a fifth into it, so I'll probably finish it by the next time we podcast at least, but probably before the end of the weekend. It's gonna take 1 or 2 good sessions to finish it, which, hey, happy about it.
I look forward to trying it.
What else, Justin? Any other games you wanted to speak about?
The point of tonight, or what we were going to do, was talk about some of the things that we're playing to catch up. And one of the things that I started, and I'll just briefly mention it, is Wildermuth.
Oh, yes.
Which is a kind of adventure. What's the word? What's the right word here? It's kind of like a D&D campaign that you're running.
Yeah, it totally is. Yes.
Where you create your characters, and there's a story, and you're making choices for the characters, and then playing like a top-down grid-based RPG with combat. And for the selling point for me was, besides the fact that so many people have given this game just positive word of mouth this year, was somebody described it like your character can die in an hour, or your character could age decades and have children, and your children are now in that adventure guild that you've started. And I was like, okay, that's enough for me. It's got a really cool art style.
Yeah.
It's basically 2D characters on a 3D plane, or like a 3D isometric plane. It is, I played it for about an hour and a half. 2 of my characters almost died, and I had the choice to go out in a blaze of glory or survive. But as long as this campaign runs, they have now some negative aspect attributed to them. So my ranger is now 5% less accurate than they would have been previously, because she was maimed and she lost an eye. And so, there's romance, like there's the beginnings of romance between the characters, and your guild grows over time. The hour and a half I played it, I messaged you right away, and I was like, this is something. Like, this is really, really good, and I'm enjoying it. I need to spend more time with it, because it's one of those games that has the potential to just sneak up on me at the end of the year and be like, this is definitely one of the top 10 games you played this year. So I want to definitely spend more time with it. It was announced today that they're going to port it to Switch.
Oh, really?
Which
cool.
Seems like a really cool place. They said that's probably like a year away. It's a lot of work for them. But I think the Switch is an excellent place that's going to play that. It's on Steam, so it will be on the Steam Deck. Sorry, Megs, you can't have it. And you can play this with multiple people. I have read. You can have your friends play this campaign with you and be those characters. And I think that would be a really interesting way to play the game. If this catches on with me in the way that I'm hoping that it will, I will definitely want to experiment with that with probably Bobby and Andy. And we'll see how it goes. But that's one of the games that I'm playing, but also needs to play more of for Game of the Year.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit, like I said, Justin, some of the games that we want to play a little bit more for Game of the Year. I have I've got six games I've kind of like narrowed in on as the games that I want to focus on moving into towards the end of the year. One of them is the Gunk, which I talked about, which I'm gonna finish probably this weekend or whatever. So like that's gonna be knocked off that list pretty fast because it's very short. But I got to finish Resident Evil Village. I finally said like to my wife, I said, because I started playing again, I was like, I'm just gonna play it. And then she walked in on me playing it and it was like, oh, I want to watch you play this. And I was like, okay. So she watched me play it one night, and then since then she hasn't wanted to watch me. And I was like, hey, like I still have the PS4 Pro, like it's in our bedroom. Why don't we do this? Well, I downloaded Resident Evil Village on there because you get both versions when you buy like the PS5 version or whatever. I was like, you play it on there, I'll play it on over here, and then we'll talk about that. We won't have to like sync up our days. So I need to finish the game. So I'm gonna be finishing Resident Evil Village. I think Resident Evil Village and a couple of the other ones I might do like either record myself or maybe do like actually do streams of me playing them as I go through them. Just as like another like impetus to get through them. But Resident Evil Village I have to finish. Deathloop is the other. These are the top two that I need to get through before Game of the Year. And then Wildermuth is on that list for me because I just want to see more of it. I want to finish up Chicory: A Colorful Tale. I've got it. I played a little bit of it. People say it's like amazing. I haven't hit a point where like I haven't put a lot of time into it, but I haven't hit a point where like I feel like that thing that people are talking about, like that thing of the idea of like, oh my God, this is amazing. But it's on so many lists like that. Yeah. I feel like I just need to, I don't think it's very long. I just need to like push through it and get a couple more hours to see if it grabs me. Returnal, I want to put some more time into Returnal. I don't think to be totally honest, it's not a game I think I'm going to beat Returnal, right? But I want to put enough time into it where I can like I get the flow of it, I get the idea of it, I see the progression of it, and I can see if the loop and everything is something that I'm interested in, or if it's something that like a lot of these games I just like I can appreciate it, but I'm not like enamored by it. Then I mentioned the Gunk. So those are the six that I'm like focused in on before the end of the year. There are more like that I want to touch or look at or I hope to get to, but I just know I'm not gonna get to them. So I need to focus on these so that I can if I have any overrun, I can get to the other ones.
So I completed 2 games, which I neglected to mention, that Bobby wanted me to take a look at. I completed both Overboard and Emily is Away 3.
Oh yes.
We'll talk more in depth about those games for Game of the Year. I enjoyed both. I enjoyed Overboard a lot more than I enjoyed Emily is Away. There are a couple games that I need to catch up on. I need to play Hitman 3.
Yes, you do.
I'm gonna put some time into Hitman 3. I need to obviously finish Halo. Bobby, there was a game that you mentioned to me that you wanted me to play, and I can't remember what it was. You wanted me to take more time and look at. Was it Mario?
It was Bowser's Fury, I think, was one of the ones.
Bowser's Fury. I will probably put more time into Bowser's Fury.
It's not very long.
No. And then for myself, there's a couple of games that have come out in the last month or two, either hit 1.0 or just came out. Like I want to take a look at Solar Ash.
Yeah,
I want to take a look at Fights Inside Spaces.
I would play that. They have a demo for the Xbox. You should download it and just play it. I played a couple hours of it, or the 2 hours that you can play on that demo or whatever. It didn't really click with me, but I'm interested to see what you think of it.
The only thing is I've learned with card games and consoles, I much actually prefer card games on PC.
Yeah, I understand that for sure.
Because just the clicking of the mouse on like the cards that I'm looking for is just so much more natural than like, because I was trying to play Dicey Dungeons on Game Pass the other day, and on PC it was so much easier to just like click and then click. And with the console, it's like, oh, you kind of click this and then go over there and click this and then unclick this. Like it was just a little bit more confusing.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad idea to download the demo. I forgot that they had a demo, but that's one of the things I want to take a look at. And then other than that, I think I'm pretty good, although I'm sure there will be other things that pop up here and there that I need.
You're never going to play Scarlet Nexus.
I'm never going to play Scarlet Nexus. It's just too long. It's it's one of those ones where it's like, I will read other people's opinions of it, and I bet you it might be one of those games, if it keeps getting the praise that it's been getting around this year, that I'll go back to it in a dead period like 2 years from now and be like, you know what? Scarlet Nexus was really good. when I have a free 60 hours.
Like there are things like I'm like trying to prioritize, right? So I know you really loved, what was that roguelike you really liked at the beginning of the year? Curse of the Dead Gods. Yeah, Curse of the Dead Gods. Yeah. I put some time into it. I would like to put more time into it, but I'm prioritizing Returnal over or Curse of the Dead Gods because I know you like Returnal
That's
more.
The correct.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
The correct thing to do.
Prioritizing that. I mean, there are games that there's like a list of games that I really wish I had time to get to, like the what's it called? A Loop Hero. I would like to try. You know, what's that game that's like Earthbound?
Eastward.
Eastward. I would love to try Eastward, though. Apparently Eastward is very, very long.
It's like 30 hours long.
Yeah. Artful Escape, which I could probably fit in because it's very short, but I just love the way it looks, you know. But again, I have to prioritize because I can't. All these hours count for something. So if I put 4 hours into Artful Escape, that's 4 hours I could be putting into Returnal or Wildermuth or whatever games that I really, really want to. I'm prioritizing in my head. Unsighted, which I've heard really, really great things about. It's also showing a bunch of lists. About
Unsighted. Yeah.
It's also on Game Pass. A lot of these I'm mentioning are on Game Pass. Unsighted, Artful Escape.
Unsighted was one of the ones I was thinking of that I downloaded and you need to take a look at. We have an interesting question from the chat from one Kelsey.
Kelsey.
What potential game of the year do you think people need to play? Asking for a friend. Inscription.
Inscription, yes, Inscription. I
Inscription
played a little bit of that mod, like Casey's mod.
Okay, you haven't even talked to me about this.
No, they announced. Daniel Mullins, the creator of Inscription, he said he was He a couple weeks ago or months ago, he was like, "Oh, there are so few bugs in Inscription that I'm actually able to spend the time I usually work on fixing a game on doing something kind of cool." So I'll be back in a little bit and tell you this cool thing. And the other day they announced this thing, which is called Casey's mod, which is an update for Inscription that allows you to do an endless roguelike deck building run, turn basically the Leshy's Cabin into a endless like roguelike where you can escalate the difficulty. It has like heat levels to it, Justin. Like you can add modifiers, and it gives you like before you start each run. For the first one, it's like you at least have to get to like level 10 difficulty on this thing or whatever. So you have to add a couple of modifiers. Each one's worth 5. You click these 2, and then it gives you like a 10 difficulty, and then you start it out. And at the end of the run, Justin, it gives you your like stats. Like, you played this many cards, you killed this many beasts, you did this many things. It also gives you one that says total misplays. Like when you played the wrong card.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
Doesn't tell you what cards you played wrong. But I got to like the second boss or whatever in my first run, and then it was like you had 8 misplays, and I was like 8.
Wow.
It's like, when did this happen?
So, who was it that mentioned it to? Adam mentions Guardians of the Galaxy to Kelsey.
Yes.
Kelsey, Guardians of the Galaxy is a fantastic video game.
And I think Kelsey would love
really
Guardians of the
good.
Galaxy. Yeah.
Yeah, you would really like that, Kelsey. So tell your friends. I think 2 safe options for your unknown friends and that I know nothing about their video game tastes. Inscription. And probably Guardians of the Galaxy I feel are safe choices.
Yeah, definitely.
Inscription because of just the absolute absurdity and weirdness, and Guardians of the Galaxy for the really great story and cool Marvel characters.
Yeah, I think Kelsey would probably. A little game called Metroid Dread. Kelsey, I don't know if you've heard of it or not. Something you should probably play.
Something that you should probably play that.
I think you have some history with the character of Samus. I'm trying to think what else. I think Kelsey would really like Overboard and probably Emily is Away. I think those are probably Kelsey things, right? Life is Strange True Colors. If you haven't Life is Strange True Colors yet, Kelsey, that's something you should definitely play. Unpacking maybe would be a good Kelsey
Unpacking
game.
Is so good.
Yeah.
Unpacking is real. I like Unpacking a lot.
Kelsey, it's not Kelsey, it's a friend. Oh yes, my friend would enjoy that. So yeah, I mentioned Unsighted, right? Artful Escape, Loop Hero. There are a couple other things like Boomerang X is another game I know you played, Justin, that I would like to put some time into. It's one of the things where like
it takes about 2 hours to beat that game.
Is it really only 2 hours?
2.5 hours. I got through it in
Okay.
about 2.5 hours.
Okay, I didn't realize it was that short. I mean, I'll try to put some time in. I'll try to finish that before. That'll be on like the top of the next list of things to do. And there were a couple of those games, like these like story adventure type games, like Road 96 and Last Stop, that I wanted to check out, that I haven't yet, which I don't think I'm gonna get to. Stuff like that. So, and there's a bunch. I mean, literally, I'm looking at this list. I have this like very in depth like layout of how my games are laid out right now, and like in my try to get to thing, there is like, I don't know, 20 games or something like that I'll never even probably touch at any point, like Chernobyl Light and Little Nightmares 2 and Griftlands and Ender Lilies.
Griftlands is one of those ones I'm going to revisit next year on the when I get the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And that I have a feeling I will really enjoy. It's just sometimes it's just really hard to sit down at the PC when I come home. I know Griftland's on console now, but I already bought it in one place, and it's like I know that I'm going to have that handheld, and I probably will just play it there. That's that's where I'm waiting for Eastward, because Eastward totally seems like my jam. So yeah, there's a couple of games I've just resigned to. Like, we'll maybe put you on next year's list,
right?
On our old game of 2022.
Yes. So yeah, like, and those stuff like Chivalry 2 and Chivalry 2. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, so but those games, Resident Evil Village, Deathloop, Wildermuth, Chicory, Returnal, and the Gunk are the ones I'm like focused on right now. And if I get those done, I'll move on to other stuff. Justin and I will set the date for Game of the Year in the next couple of weeks, probably next week or two. And then they'll have something to sort of like lead up to. But like I said, I'm looking at my list of the games that like I have finished or played enough of, because some of them are multiplayer games, to like put it on a list. And like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 games on that list already. And that is like,
you want to rank?
That I want to rank.
Like 18. Okay.
I have other games that I've touched or played a bunch of that I will not be on this list. I didn't like very much or whatever. Those I'm not even talking about those games.
On my top, I have a running list of about 14 games that I'm trying to narrow down into 10. So we'll see.
Yeah. Like some of these on this list of 18, like they're not going to make a top 10 list, but they're worth talking about. At least.
I have a bunch of those games.
That's kind of what it is.
I haven't wrote them down yet.
But probably like 15 of them are probably like in the running for a top 10. So there's going to have to be some cuts for me, for sure, for my personal top 10. And then this year, I think Justin and I, we haven't cemented it yet, but I think we're going to do like category stuff, like, best music, best looking game, stuff like that. So, we're going to do stuff like that too. So it should be a fun, a fun game of the year this year.
Hey, look, if you have suggestions for things that you haven't heard us talk about, or you want us to take a look at for a category like best music, please join the Discord. Let us know what they are, and we will take a look at them.
Yes, I'm going to actually put in the podcast section in our Discord, Game of the Year 2021, and in there I would like people to write their suggestions for games or stories or music or the games they think look the best. I'll put them in there so that we can add them to our lists, or at least consider them to think about at the end of the year. Shut up, Mark. Mark said, best looking game, how shallow of you.
Some video games are better looking than others, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Yeah, me either.
Cancel me.
This is not about the best graphics in a game, because we don't really care about that. It's just the games we think look the best. I started laying them out like in a list for us, so I could things we could start messing around with. Just like put some in. The only game I have right now in best looking game is The Ascent. And more will be added, obviously, but I just like
more will be added.
Yeah, I just threw like stuff
three games just came to mind. Just like, and that's sort of something that, I mean, those are where we could play. I'm gonna just come right out and say it. The Artful Escape is a game I have seen in motion, and I'm like, holy shit, that game looks really good. But I don't really have a lot of desire to play the Artful Escape. But if we were able to put that and like at least nominate that for something that we were like, this game looks great, but it's not really a game that either of us, possibly enjoyed, we'll be able to like at least nominate it for something. And so like that's always really fun and exciting.
The chat points out we should have a Mark Rossi dead video game of 2021.
I love it.
Category.
Let's do it. And why is it Valorant? The worst game of all time.
But Mark is playing a very alive game right now. He's playing a lot of Forza Horizon 5, which...
That's right. Thanks for the invite, buddy. The game that we introduced you to, Mark, just absolutely, pun intended, left us in the dust.
So yeah, that's what we're kind of ramping up for Game of the Year. Exciting times. So people know, like we just recorded the first episode of a new video series that will be coming out probably, I'm guessing probably next week, because we're gonna we haven't really talked about this, I think, to people publicly or not yet, but we're gonna start doing the podcast, I think, every other week, so that we can record more content type of stuff or do more content type of stuff that's not just the podcast. So we've been recording stuff, but it's hard sometimes to find recording time, and we kind of have this time set aside always, so it's a good day to do that kind of stuff. Justin, do you want to tell the folks at home what the new series is called?
The name of the series that we're doing is called The Remaining Evils. And it is me playing through the Resident Evil games I have not played, because I have played, and I go over this in the video, and I think I have it down correctly. My Resident Evil history is 2, 5, 7, 2 remake, 8, 3.
3 remake.
So
not 3 original.
Remake, yes, 3 remake. Excuse me. So Bobby and I are going to be playing through, or Bobby's going to be watching. I'm going to be playing through Resident Evil 0, 1, 4, and we're going to co-op 6.
Yeah. And if the series continues after that, there are some other like I guess side games like Revelations and stuff like that, which are actually pretty good. But we're going to stick with the mainline stuff first.
I will say that is one video series we're doing. Stay tuned for more info.
Yes, we have lots of other stuff planned. I will say this so everyone knows, because people, I wrote on Twitter yesterday or the other day, like, if people like to see a video series where Justin gets real frustrated, we have the thing for you. And some people are like, what are you making him play now, Bobby? This was not my idea, okay? This was Justin's idea.
I will say I'm a masochist.
Yeah.
We have a video series that we started, and I was like, you know what? I don't really think this works. And it was a game I like playing a lot, and I was like, I just don't think this works. I don't think this is very entertaining. Let's cut it. And so you'll see the failed pilot of that one day. And then in the meantime, I'm like, let me play games I absolutely hate.
Yeah. By the way, there are just to tease you guys, there are multiple series that Justin suggested and concepted that he's playing games that he hates. So I don't want to ever hear anybody, including Justin, ever blame me for Justin playing games he does not like, because it's not me. I simply said, no, you don't have to do this. Like, I want you to do stuff you want to do. So
well, to be fair, I wanted to do the Resident Evil series because I've, in the past year, grown fond of the series, and I would like to finish out everything that I haven't played. I just did not expect. I mean, you'll see it in the video.
You'll see next week. It'll come out next week.
I forgot what it's like to play old video games.
Yep. And it's not even like, so Resident Evil, because Resident Evil 0, just so we're playing Resident Evil first. Resident Evil 0 first. That came out in 2002, I believe, was what we figured out. So that's where we're going for. So it will premiere next Thursday. So get ready for that. There will be, I'm working on a little tiny teaser trailer for the series, so don't you worry about that. Mark says he knows the game you hate. You should play Valorant.
Maybe you could have tank controls in it, Groom, but we chose not to.
Yeah, you could. So people know the history. Resident Evil 0 came around at the same time that Resident Evil Remake came out on the GameCube, so it had the same like control styles in it. Justin is not using tank controls. That is not to say that Justin is finding it so smooth to play with the controls that are in the game itself. But it'll be good practice for the next game, which will be Resident Evil 1 that you'll end up playing, the remake of that. So, So there you go. But we got another series in the hopper. Some Justin, led series, some me led series. And we'll get to those, probably announcing those pretty soon, for everybody. But until then, I think this has been a good podcast, Justin.
It has been.
I think we're good. Looking forward to it. The next time we podcast, we'll probably announce the date for Game of the Year. Let everybody know so you can kind of build up to it. And yeah, we'll be hard at work trying to play the stuff to finish off our lists for that. You can if you're watching this video right now, if you're watching this video live right now, by the way, we do this every Thursday or every other Thursday live at 8:00 Eastern time on our YouTube channel. Please like the video. Like. If you're in chat and you haven't liked the video yet, please like that video. Hit that alarm bell to get notified when we put up a video or when we go live, and obviously subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. That really, really helps.
We need to do this at the beginning next time.
I know. We came in so hot.
I know. We came in so hot.
There was I had all these Discord self-promo links ready to go. I was waiting for them, and we came in so hot that I forgot to send them until we were 10 minutes into the show because we were going so hard into it. So I just was too distracted by everything that was going on.
I just want to say something really quickly.
Yes.
Because everybody in chat right now, and hey, look, if you're listening to this and you've been with Bobby and I, if you listen to this, you've been with Bobby and I for multiple years, and we really appreciate that. We're cooking up something kind of neat.
Yes.
And we're excited about it. And so it's a bit of a bummer that we're going to have the podcast cut back to just twice a month, but we're going to make it extremely worth it.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say thank you to everybody, who's been watching and listening, especially the YouTube side of things has really grown since we kind of came over here and started doing it live on here. Our numbers have, shot up considerably. So I'm really, really, really happy about that. And we're going to try to continue to grow, continue to go, keep going up. And thank you everybody who's coming on this journey with us. Yeah, we'll be announcing something very soon, actually. And it's going to be really funny for everybody to hear what it is and sort of the genesis of it, because you're hearing one particular thing where I'm adamant that this is not going to happen. And now it's going to happen because Justin stalled his way into getting his way.
I have no idea what he's talking about. None.
Yeah, you'll know when we get over here. I'll tell you. So anyway,
yes.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Shit was needed.
So that's gonna do it for the show this week. By the way, if you're listening on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review, rate us, please. We have very few ratings for the podcast, so if you can rate us, it'd be really, really great for that. And we'll try to call out new reviews that go up if some reviews come up during the week. So please try to review the show and rate the show depending on what service you use and how you can do that. But that's enough for the plugs. We're gonna end the show now. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Look for our new series premiering next week, The Remaining Evils. But until then, thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you to everybody who's been watching and listening. Until next time, be good to one another. Later.
These two great friends agree a lot, but when they don't, then the shit gets hot. Though there's C+ in their gameplay, their commentary gets an A. So boys, girls, black, white, brown, and blue, if you're kind and you're respectful too.